Hi everyone! Today we're going to make bacon, egg, and cheese breakfast burritos. Now you can make these while you're camping over the campfire. We've actually done that. Or you can make them on your grill on your back deck, or you can do them in a skillet on the campfire or on your stove inside your house. Today we're going to be using the Blackstone Griddle to make these breakfast burritos. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get our veggies ready. The recipe calls for 1 large bell pepper, but I happen to have 2 small, so we're just going to chop up 2 of them. And then we're also going to use 6 green onions. So I'm going to go ahead and get these chopped up and ready to go for the recipe. I'm just stripping these membranes and the stem and the seeds out of the pepper before I chop them up. I'm going to chop it into strips and then we'll mince it up. And it's okay if you have the odd seed here and there. It's not going to hurt anything. I just like to remove them. Once you have your strips, then you can just kind of chop them into smaller pieces. You can have these however big or small you want. We're going to soften them up when we saute them, so they should be tender either way in your burritos. Now we're going to chop up our green onions. I like to just cut that end off of them. Some people cut the whole white off. I don't do that. I just leave it. I don't see that it hurts anything. You're just going to go through and chop your green onion into small pieces until you get as much of it chopped as you want. Now this is technically a camping recipe or backyard grilling recipe. If you want more camping recipes, be sure and check out our camping recipes playlist, where you'll find desserts and all kinds of delicious camping food. Alright, now we're ready to move over and cook our bacon.
We're going to go ahead and get started on cooking the bacon, and after the bacon's done here, I'll add the peppers and onions. You can cook everything at once if you like to, but for the sake of the video today, we're going to separate things up a little bit. If you have a smaller griddle, you might be able to, you might not be able to cook everything. With a big crowd, this is a 28-inch griddle. I can cook for my family of 5 relatively easy on this. I've got this preheating. I'm on low with the bacon. I don't like to go too hot because it'll splatter all over, but I always like to make sure that I've got a little bit of grease on it. So I'm just adding some bacon grease for the bacon. You're going to want 9 slices of bacon. I've got a little bit extra. If you're doing this outside, sometimes the wind can get underneath your griddle and can cool things down a little bit. Sometimes you might need to adjust your heat. But the goal here is to just let the bacon cook slowly so that it doesn't splatter everywhere and it doesn't tend to lift up and curl up on you. Unless you like it that way, then crank the heat up and cook it. So the bacon's getting pretty well cooked here. It's going nice and slow. Just keep flipping it often and it'll get nice and crunchy to where you'll be able to break it up on your burrito. So when you got a few minutes left here, the next step is to go ahead and get your vegetables going. I got the other side of the griddle here heated up. Again, if you've got a smaller griddle, you might have to maneuver things a little bit to fit. On this side I started off on low. I like to start off on low and then bring the heat up unless I'm searing meat or I'm wanting a quick sear on vegetables. I'd rather have these get nice and tender and then start to get a little bit browned. The key here is to get them cooked evenly, so I like to spread them out a little bit, stir them, and then spread them out a little bit more. Now I'm going to go to the next step here, and that's just adding the eggs to the mixture. I like to keep it, turn the heat back down a little bit, and just crack the eggs directly into the mixture. For this recipe I'm going to put in 12. It's okay if they start to cook a little bit beforehand. We're just going to get these on here and cooking, and then we'll get them all mixed up. And it gets a little messy at first until things start getting set. Just give it all time to get set up and cooked here. Before things get set here, you want to get your salt and pepper on. The recipe calls for about a teaspoon of each, but you can adjust that to your liking. Our eggs have set up pretty good, so our next step is to get this bacon back out and get it mixed in here. So I'm just going to crumble it by hand real quick on top of the eggs. Go ahead and mix it in to your heart's content.
So we've got our wrap. Now we're going to add about a 1/4 cup of eggs to one side of the wrap. And then we're going to add our cheese. Now I have shredded cheddar, and I also have some Colby Jack. I usually like to use a Monterey Jack, but I didn't have anything on hand this time, so Colby Jack it is. Then we're going to add just a little bit, and you can do this, is optional. You can add things like sour cream. I like to add a little bit of sour cream. You can add some salsa in there. You can add some avocado. It's totally up to you. Fresh tomatoes, whatever you want. And then we're just going to wrap that up.
You'll notice that this is not Mel anymore, so as I'm showing you how to wrap these things, I'll tell you a funny story.
I can't wrap a burrito to save my life.
She couldn't wrap a burrito to save anyone's life. So I always get to, for the last 20 years of our marriage, probably 22 years that we've known each other, I've always had to wrap her burritos. And the kids as well, because they take suit after her.
I can cook anything, but I can't wrap a burrito.
So, and what she does, it's not that she can't wrap it, is she doesn't know when to stop filling it. So normally you wouldn't see the burrito at this point. It would just be loaded up with a pile. So, and then she hands it to me and is like, wrap this please. And it's like, I just can't do that physically. So now these are 10-inch tortillas. They make bigger ones. They make smaller ones. So, you know, you'll have to adjust your ingredient size. You know, there's probably a right way to wrap the burrito. Then there's probably the wrong way, but this is my way. So she put everything on one side. So it's easy for me. I like to come in and I kind of take the burrito over and put my fingers down and pull back. And what that does is kind of spreads everything out a little bit. And then I just bring up my sides. Make sure they stayed nice and tucked in. You might need to tuck them a little bit more. But when you're done, you got a nice little burrito.
Yay!
So when you're filling it, you can fill things kind of in a line too a little bit. Now this one I made just a little bit bigger. And you can still fill it, still wrap the same way. Just make sure you tuck things in good, nice and tight. And then you got, oh! Well, we're going to have to make more. Okay, so the last step here is just to kind of fry these just a little bit. So you just oil your griddle a little bit and heat it up, probably about medium low.
What if you're doing these on a campfire?
If you're doing these on a campfire, you can put them in a pan. You could even put them directly on like a rack or on foil. You just want to watch that you don't burn them. The campfire is likely going to be hotter. So the goal here is just to kind of get a little bit of a crispy texture to the burrito. And it helps to warm up the cheese a little bit too. We'll both give it a try and see how we like it.
I'm going to take another bite to see if I like it. Still can't tell. sun needs to be on
You
me for
guys are
that.
gonna pick it up. And
Sweating a little bit. Take a bite and go,
God.
sweat in my forehead.
You got to get the head whip.
Yeah.